The National Energy Regulator has refused to allow Eskom to charge consumers for its power buyback program. And NERSA states that buyback agreements with major industrial powers have proved users have proved counterproductive. Meanwhile, the Independent System and Market Operator Bill was under discussion before the Portfolio Committee on Energy in Parliament today. And that bill to enable independent producers to sell the electricity they generate to Eskom. Joining me for more on this is Chris Yelland, who's MD at EEE Publishers. Chris, that Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, lots of industry jargon there. What's the impact going to be of this particular hearing?
Well, they met today, the committee met today to discuss, amongst other things, the so-called ISMO bill, that is the Independent System and Market Operator Bill, which will set in place or establish an intermediary, an independent body that would buy energy from people like Eskom, in fact, mainly Eskom, and sell it to users of electricity, which could include municipalities and large industry. This bill is seen as very important to create an independent system operator and also an independent buying company, independent of Eskom, which really is intended to pave the way for independent power producers in South Africa. At the moment, with Eskom being the sole buyer of electricity, it really is seen as a stumbling block to the introduction of independent power producers, because they kind of see Eskom performing a dual role as a generator themselves in competition with independent power producers, as well as the buyer of electricity.
And there's that conflict, because we know that we need more electricity to be generated, but the structure is not encouraging it.
Until this independent, or this ISMO, the Independent System and Market Operator, comes into place, we're unlikely to see the entry of independent power
So is
producers.
that going to happen now, and when?
Well, you know, we're still waiting for this bill to be passed, and today is not the time when it's going to be debated in Parliament. They are just still finalizing the bill. In the last meeting, you know, the committee asked the Department of Energy to go back to Eskom and ask them, you know, what would be the implications of including the transmission grid assets into this ISMO, and turn it from an ISMO into what is known as a TISMO. Sorry to use all this jargon, but that means a transmission and independent system and market operator. So the question is, do the assets of the transmission grid go into this independent system and market operator or not? Eskom was asked to comment and give input about what would be the implications. They have fed back this information in the form of a report, and the draft bill is being modified at the moment. I haven't seen exactly how it's going to be modified. We're waiting to see that with
It sounds like
interest.
it's quite a thorn bush.
It is.
Difficult to work around. Chris, how must we think about this? Must we be discouraged? Must we be optimistic?
We must think that this is an important and urgent bill that
they must
is
get
necessary to get independent power producers into the game, and unless it happens, they won't come in. And there are certainly perceptions that Eskom have been talking the talk but not walking the walk.
Who's holding it up? Is it Parliament? Is it Eskom? The Department?
I believe it's the Department and Eskom together. Policy vacillations, lack of clarity, changes in concept, and it's not getting done. You may remember 3 years ago, Jacob Zuma, in his State of the Nation address, said that this had to be done in the next year. Well, it's 3 years later.
Yes, we need to go back to the State of Nation addresses and see what things had to be done that haven't been. What about Medupi? I mean, all of this sounds quite bureaucratic compared to the urgency of getting a power station finished, and the Minister said they must finish by December. Well, he can say that, but maybe they won't.
Well, we've seen a 2-month, 8-week strike at a time when there's 12 months left to first commissioning of the first unit at Medupi. And as time goes by, a 2-month or any kind of a delay in construction becomes a greater and greater percentage of the time remaining.
From your knowledge of it, is it going to be finished on time?
It's hard to say whether this is just talk or not, but we've seen some very bad news coming out of Medupi. We've seen the strike, number one.
Software issue?
Yes, we've seen these software
Welding?
issues, boiler issues, a lot of problems coming together. I don't think we've seen the last of the labour problems. In fact, yesterday the DA reported that another strike was in progress at Medupi. This has been denied by Eskom, who said that the workers are all back at work today, but apparently NUMA said that no, that's not correct. You know, some of the workers are out on strike. Whether they're not or not, you'd have to go onto the ground and see at Medupi. But I don't think we've seen the last of the strikes because as the deadline approaches, Labour uses the opportunity to flex its muscles, use its leverage to get its demands. So I think we're likely to see some more Labour unrest, and all of this is bad news.